subscribers to Buzzing Vlogs, of which there are now apparently 54. I probably shouldn't make a video on something that I don't actually know all the details of, but I do have friends that can help me update the description on this, as well as the Women's Lives Matter in Women's Aid campaign. There's also another campaign that is going on that is something that many socialists believe in. This is the fair pay for workers who work in like fast food industries and stuff. What I believe is happening is that there is going to be a strike by McDonald's workers. I think it's in America, or in this country or something. Like I said, I've got friends that will help me update the description and stuff. The idea is to get workers paid fairly at, I think it's £10 an hour or $10 an hour, depending if this is the American thing or in Britain. As I said, I don't know all that much information, but the campaigns that help get people treated fairly, be it to do with domestic violence, like the Save South Yorkshire Women's Aid campaign, of which there will be more on tomorrow, but also to get workers paid fairly. The idea has been through the government that the amount of money that they've decided is fair for people to get minimum wage, which is currently £7.50 an hour. Now, minimum wage is not living wage. Living wage, from what I understand it, is how much a person needs to live on. If you're on job seekers allowance, currently you're entitled to £73.10 a week. How they can calculate that a person who is a job seeker, the amounts of money that are paid, whether you're in a job or on benefits, is different depending on the benefits or the job. Fair enough, I suppose, but my experience as far as benefits is concerned, which I know has got nothing to do with the McStrike, but I've just thought I'd include the fact that my experience as far as the benefits side is concerned is that originally, when I was classed as too ill to work, I was entitled to disability living allowance because of my panic attacks of just over £160 a month, and the support category ESA of about £240 a fortnight. It was then transferred on to ESA work related, and my money went down to £204.50, I think it was, a fortnight, and then on to I at one point, before my benefits have changed again, was getting £182 something in a fortnight. I'm now, being the same person with the same amount of bills that I've got to pay out, on £73.10 a week. How a person can't be worked out to have the living needs that are three different amounts of money based on whether or not they're still ill or not, which I still am. I still have all the illnesses that I had. I still have depression. I still have anxiety. I'm still at risk of panic attacks. Because I've done college courses and things like that and proved that I can do certain things, apparently this means that I'm classed as fit for work, which is why something like a workers' strike is important, and why something like the Women's Aid campaign is important. I am a woman, and I know that men do get abused as well, so if anybody thinks that I don't, yes, I know that men get abused as well, but it do, and Women's Aid does actually support men too. If a man goes in and is a victim of domestic violence, I'm sure that he will get helped. But back to the McStrike thing, I know that I have been calculated as needing three different amounts of money obviously prior to 2013, when I had my first medical assessment, I was getting the £240 something and then the £160 something. I was then recalculated to only being entitled to like £204 a fortnight, and then I've been recalculated again as being somebody who is fit for work and can live on £73.10 a fortnight. This is why I sympathise with the workers, because how can the same government decide that the same person is entitled to three different sums of money, right? How can they decide that somebody, say, who's under 21 is entitled to this amount of minimum wage, and then as soon as that person is over 21, they're entitled to this amount of minimum wage, and then when they get over 24, I think it is, they're entitled to this amount of minimum wage, right? Say if you've got the same amount of bills, nothing's changed, your internet, which is a luxury apparently, even though you need it to look for work, and not everybody can go and sit in public places like libraries and do job search. Anxiety is a very complex issue, right? So when it comes down to it, they're basically saying that these individuals can live on three different amounts of money, that even though they're the same person, they have the same amount of things to pay out for their home, right? They have the same amount of food that they need to buy, same amount of gas and electric they need to buy, same amount of water rates they need to pay, same amount of TV license they need to pay, right? When it comes to things like if they need to buy some clothes, the same amount, very slightly varying maybe, but they're pretty much the same amount that they need to spend on clothes, right? You can't basically turn around and say that this same person or these same people aren't entitled to the same amount of money, right? Yes, everybody has skills, ill or not, and everybody can actually do things to input into society. So everybody is entitled to a fair wage, not a minimum wage, a fair living wage. And that's what the whole point of these campaigns are. Being debunked by people, having our videos debunked by people on YouTube saying, oh, well, you're coming out with this thing and you're going to start talking about wage gaps and stuff like that. No, I'm not. Right? I'm not going to say, oh, men and women get paid differently, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about people. People are paid differently, regardless of whether or not they're a man or a woman, right? The fact that I've been paid three different amounts of money in 4 years, in 3 years I've been paid two different amounts of money now. The work-related ESA and now the job seekers allowance. And this is the problem. Everybody's been paid different amounts of money, and to make it fair, what we really should be doing is not saying, oh, £7.50 an hour, yeah, on say you only work if you're only part time, and so you only work like say 2 hours a day or something. So you do a minimum of like 16 hours a week. That's £7.50 an hour for 2 hours. 16 hours a week, and you've still got to pay everything that you had to pay, and you're in debt, and you're struggling to keep your home warm, and your lights on, and make sure you've got water, and that you're not going to get arrested for not having a TV license and all that. It's not a fair thing when you've got people that are claiming for things, that have a lot more money, that are claiming for things that people like me would be grateful for. So I think that's what something like this strike is really all about, and why people go on strikes, and everyone goes, oh, these teachers and these fast food workers and these workers who work in this industry or that industry trying to claim more money. Yes, because it's not a fair system. It's not being a fair system under the system that we've got, because whether you're on benefits or in a job, right, not as a man or as a woman, but as a person, you're being paid different amounts of money, right? It's not a way. I'm not talking about a wage gap issue in between different genders and things like that. I'm talking about as a whole, people are being paid different amount of money, and the same person can be paid 2 or 3 different amount of money despite them being the same person, because somebody decides that what they need to live on has gone down. So how am I, as the same person that I ever was, with the same conditions that I ever was, right, suddenly going from being entitled to £240, £250, whatever, a fortnight, and £160 something a month, to only being entitled to £73.10 a week? That's £146 a fortnight, right? And this is why we have these things, we have these arguments about judging the wages and how wages need to be a living wage, and why people are going on strikes and stuff. I've had people say that £50 a fortnight was enough to live on. Yes, I've been on TV, I've been on the calendar news, right, talking about how smart meters are good now. They help you to learn how much you're putting on and stuff, right? And I've got told by people who saw it that £50 a fortnight or whatever was enough to live on. No, it's not. I still had everything to pay out. And that this is how people that are in my position get into debt. This is how people that are on low wages get into debt, right? Because those that have the money, that run the country, that run the towns and the cities, dictating to somebody who's not in the position that they're in, that they can afford to live on that. How many of the people that are in positions of power have lived on £73.10 a week? How many of them have lived on even the money that I used to get years ago when I lived in my old flat before I moved here, right? How many of them could actually manage on the £240, £250, whatever it was, a fortnight, and need that? Saying that I wasted my money on buying things that brought me comfort, right? Is like saying that things like the internet are a luxury, and that you should make yourself more ill by going and sitting somewhere when you have anxiety issues and paranoia and things like that. And even if people aren't looking over your shoulder, that's not the point. Anxiety and paranoia makes you think that people are looking at everything you're doing, which is why we try to have home internet, and then we get told that's a luxury. I'm not going to go and sit in my local council or in the, like, job centre or in my library, whether it be locally or in town, and have people milling about that can see what I'm doing. I just won't, right? And I don't think it's fair to be penalised or sanctioned or whatever because you might have missed an appointment because you had, and saying that it's, not a good enough reason why you've missed an appointment. If you've had an anxiety issue or you've been running around trying to sort other things out, saying, oh, well, that's not good enough, so now we've got to make sure you have no money for like 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, right? So this is why we have things like the McStrike that's going to happen. This is why we have campaigns like the Women's Lives Matter, It Saves South Yorkshire Women's Aid. This is why we have these campaigns. This is why we go out and protest. This is why the campaign videos that have been going up on my channel have been going up. Because we can't take it anymore with somebody who's rich and powerful, who's not even in our towns, who's not really looking and seeing how difficult it is, who's not admitting that there's councils that have got reserves of money and stuff. This is why we do this, and this is why McStrike is important, because they need to all live on a fair living wage, same as those people that are in power get what they consider to be a fair living wage to live on, to fund everything that they need to fund, like get their mortgages and stuff. A lot of us can't afford the mortgage or afford to pay £58 a week, whatever it is, for one of those new houses that they built down near where my mum used to live. Can't afford things like that. and they know full well, and when it comes down to it, what they're trying to do to low-waged people and what they're trying to do to people on benefits is basically make sure that we can't survive, and we won't back down. And this is why like we end up getting into trouble when we upload this kind of stuff to social media, because they see it and they try to lock us out. That's all I've got to say on it for now. I know I was going to talk just about McStrike, but I think it's a bigger issue that I needed to talk about. Please comment positively. Don't be slagging us off and stuff and that in the comments, because it will not go up as a comment. And please share on social media. I can't get onto my Twitter at the moment, but share on social media like Facebook, and comment and subscribe, and follow the campaign Save South Yorkshire Women's Aid on Twitter, and go to the crowdfunding, which I've tried to link again and stuff. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.